Okay, do you want to just start out by telling us your name, your year and major, and then when and where you studied abroad?
Okay. I'm Catherine Grauman. I am 21, a marketing major, a junior. And in spring of 2008, I studied abroad in London at City University.
Great. So do you want to just start off by telling us a little bit about why you chose to study abroad?
Okay. I really had no intention of studying abroad, but when one of my friends was like, I'm submitting my application today to a different, completely unrelated program, I was like, I should probably do that, considering I love to travel and I don't have just tons of money that I can spend towards traveling unless I have a really good reason to go. So I decided to look into going abroad, and I realized I wasn't comfortable with my Spanish or anything, so I couldn't go there to Spain, and then I didn't think of anywhere else that really struck me, and I'd always been very interested in the UK, and then I saw the London program, and I saw it was shorter, so I still had the potential to get an internship, so I decided that that was probably the best program for me.
How come you think you didn't initially think about studying abroad before that point?
I kind of just had a set path, and I guess when I went into college I was like, studying abroad isn't going to fit into my time. I'm not going to be able to fulfill requirements and still get out in 4 years. But I think more than anything I just thought it sounded like too much work to get it all, fill out all the forms and go through all the planning and whatnot. But didn't end up being a big deal at all, and the work was very minimal in doing applications, so once I found that out I wanted to do it.
Great. So now that you filled out your forms and decided to go abroad, do you want to just tell me more about your experiences once you got over to London?
Sure. I'll start from the very beginning because my transition was a little bit more traumatic than everyone else's. I was one of the first people to get there, and so I walked into this empty building and didn't know anyone, and like there was no one else there. So I kind of freaked out, and I was like, oh, this is a really horrible idea. Why am I here all by myself? Blah, blah, blah. But once people started coming and we all got to know each other, and we started like having fun and getting to know the area and seeing more of London, then I calmed down and was able to be okay with everything. But one of my big things that I wanted to make sure I did was like go and see something every day, like other than just like going to class, because class was only like 5 to 10 minute walk from my flat. So I wanted to make sure that I saw a lot of London every day too. So I tried to do that and just experience something cultural, whether it was just like sitting outside while I was having a meal or going to the pubs and whatnot. So that was it for that.
Do you have any kind of favorite day trips that you took or cultural experiences that you went on?
I loved going to the markets, and I did my very best to go every Saturday to Portobello Road in London, or where else did I go? Spitalfields Market, that was on like the east side. And then on certain days there were like little markets just all scattered about London that I always tried to go to. And people made fun of me for it because they called me the grandma of the group because I always wanted to go like look at flowers or do whatnot. But it was really cool. You got a really good sense of the area and the culture by going to those markets because they're less touristy and a lot of just the locals coming together and selling what they do best and whatnot. Some other favorite day trips. Well, my parents came to visit me over my spring break, and we stayed in Bath for as like a home base for a few days, and then we just did a lot of short day trips out into the country and saw a lot of the things that I would never have been able to see if they hadn't come because they got a rental car. So then we were able to do that kind of stuff. I'm trying to think. One of my favorites was we went to this tiny little town in the very far, for like the really far west, I don't remember what it's called, but you had to like pay to get in, and you walk, and it's like, I don't know, you have to take donkeys down there. I don't remember the name of the town, but I like just doing smaller things like that, because when you're in London all the time, it's pretty big, and you're not in touch with the country at all. But other than that, oh, another place we went was called the New Forest, and it was like a fairy tale land. You just like opened your window, and there were like ponies walking through your front yard, and so that was really cool. I'm trying to think of other fun things. I tried to every day, not every day, but as much as I could, get up and walk along the Thames and the embankment and see like Big Ben and the London Eye and whatnot. So we all loved walking along there, especially at night or at sunset. So that was another thing in London that we all really liked.
No, it sounds like you're really into experiencing kind of London culture. Were there any kind of mementos that you've brought back from London that have kind of meant a lot to you?
Well, I kept a journal of all my experiences. That's kind of cool to look back on, to read, you know, little things that I wouldn't necessarily have remembered, and also what I was feeling on certain days, you know, like stressed out about a paper, which I don't know why I would have been, because there were very few of them. But just, it's cool to see and remember things that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily remember. Other things that I brought back a couple like antique vases from markets, and it was actually kind of funny because I got to know an old woman who was selling it, and she originally, you know, thought I was just some random girl and wanted to sell it for like 70 pounds or something, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't afford that, blah blah blah. But then like the next week I came back and, you know, just kind of bargained with her, and by the end she sold it to me, I think, for like 30 pounds or something. So it was cool, that story that goes along with it. What else? Another thing that was kind of interesting that I think of often is at one of the markets there was a designer who was really like young, and her little booth at the market was always really full. And my friend and I each bought
go to your interview?
Each bought multiple things, and so every time I like put on that shirt, like when I was in London I wore these clothes often, and so everyone would make fun of me, and then when I came back here I would keep putting them on, and it's just funny to think about, you know, being made fun of every time I wore them there. But it's just another interesting story. What else? Another time, I'm just going to babble about stuff like that. Another time when I went to Windsor Castle, kind of borrowed someone's dog to take a picture, and so every time, well, I'll show you the picture if you want to see it. Every time I show the picture, people are like, well, how did you have a dog when you were over there? I'm like, well, some lady was walking by and she was the only one around, so we said we'd hold her dog if she took our picture. So that's something. I don't know.
Since you have that journal to kind of record your thoughts, and you were fairly nervous when you got over